Hello and welcome to this special edition of Tech 24 out of Tallinn, Estonia, the world's first e-nation. Estonia is often hailed as the most digitally advanced society in the world. Since its independence from the Soviet bloc 28 years ago, this small Baltic state has transformed itself into an e-nation with 90% of government services online. Internet access is even considered a basic human right and is enshrined in the Constitution. In a tweet, the president of Estonia recently called attention to the country's high proportion of unicorns, or companies valued over $1 billion, compared to the country's population. Estonia is already known as the birthplace of Skype, one of its 4 unicorns, along with Playtech, Taxify, and TransferWise. After London, Paris, Berlin, and Silicon Valley, Tallinn seems to be the new land of opportunity for entrepreneurs. Let's meet with some people who have decided to set up their business here in the Estonian capital.
Hi, I'm Chris, and welcome to my office here in Tallinn.
40 computer engineers from across 5 countries work in this 500-metre squared office. They're the team behind the startup On-Off, an application that allows you to have multiple numbers for one mobile phone.
First of all, I thought to myself, we need to find a country, not just where the engineers are very good, but where they know how to produce the kind of technology that I want to make. So clearly I had to go to a country where the workforce is cheaper to create a more effective product and so become more competitive. And finally, we're based here in the Silicon Valley of Europe.
A hub of technological ingenuity whose spirit is embodied by one place in particular, the Teleskivi Creative Centre, a former Soviet industrial complex now home to startups from all over the world, including Chile, China, Canada and Italy. They operate from this co-working space known as Lift 99. Youssef, a Moroccan software engineer, came here from Berlin 6 months ago to develop a virtual reality startup aimed at allowing anyone to create their own VR experience. It's transformed his project.
In 1 year in Berlin, I could test 2 methods, which wasn't what I wanted. Since moving to Estonia, I could test all of the methods that I hadn't gone through.
Due to its efficiency and supportiveness, this tech community is a tight-knit one. So far, 340 companies have received what's called startup status. This grants them the right to apply for a startup visa or temporary residence permit in Estonia. The startup visa is just one of the ways people can bring their company here. E-residency allows you to be a digital citizen without setting foot in Estonia. Then there is the digital nomad visa, which is being launched here in January and differs from the startup visa. Startup Estonia is a government initiative which works to support and encourage the country's startup ecosystem.
The main difference is that the digital nomad visa gives you a right to just come here for a brief amount of time, but you can also continue traveling after that. But with the startup visa, we see that people actually commit themselves to at least a couple of years in Estonia. They want to benefit from the community and then get the contacts and maybe scale out.
As Estonia looks to attract more and more international entrepreneurs, it now has to respond to new challenges. How to ensure that the necessary infrastructure is in place for those who choose to up sticks and move here.
The e-Estonia project aims to make the government more efficient and more transparent. Every single citizen here has a secure digital identity, enabling them to file their tax returns, check their medical records, and vote. Estonians can do pretty much everything online, apart from marrying, divorcing, and buying a house. Let's meet with one of the founding fathers of this project. Linner Vic, thank you so much for joining us here on Tech 24. How did the idea of creating the world's first e-government arise back 28 years ago?
Linner Vic é cofundador e diretor do programa para a governança inteligente que se encontra dentro da e-Governance Academy, que quer dizer Academia para uma Governança Digital. Quando nós vamos procurar conhecer um pouco mais sobre esta academia, podemos ler que ela foi fundada em 2002, é uma think tank sem fins lucrativos e uma organização de consultorias. Ela é uma iniciativa em conjunto do governo da Estónia, da Open Society Foundations e do Programa para o Desenvolvimento das Nações Unidas. Ou seja, mais uma vez nós vemos a Open Society Foundations inserida num processo de instauração de um governo mundial de controle tecnológico biométrico absoluto. E é isso que nós vamos ver daqui adiante, como é que esse sistema está sendo instaurado na Estónia, com um projeto piloto, protótipo, e como é que ele está se espalhando pelo resto do mundo.
It all started with necessity. Estonia has just at that time regained its independence from Soviet Union, and we saw a technological opportunity to make public administration and government work more efficiently. It was just efficiency gains we were seeking for, and it came from necessity. We were not able financially to maintain the public administration and bureaucracy as we know in Europe.
And now, how did you gain people's trust?
Trust can be gained with an interaction. As we say often that it takes 10,000 hits in golf to become somebody who knows how to hit. It takes 10,000 interactions or emails to gain a trust. It starts also with non-formal trust, which means that municipalities or government is responding to emails, the public services and information is transparently online, and when people gradually start using it, it also increases the trust level.
And now the personal data of 1.3 million Estonians is now stored in the government cloud. How do you ensure the security of all this data?
We have a distributed architecture for the digital government, which is on top of that highly crypted, and all the data exchange and all the services which we create are carried out through the common secure data exchange layer, which we call in Estonia X-Road.
Running a modern state is a data-centered endeavor. Ensuring the functioning of the state requires administering very large quantities of data. Estonia lacks a centralized or master database. Data is stored where it is created. Each agency administers its own data separately, and data is not duplicated. At the same time, state authorities and agencies need data outside their purviews in order to function. For example, the police constantly require information from the population register. Likewise, the unemployment insurance fund depends on information from the health information system. How can authorities securely exchange important data? First, the data must be easily accessible by the authorities that are authorized to use it. Second, the integrity of the data must be maintained. No third party should be able to make any changes to the data while it is in transit. Third, the data must remain confidential during its journey. It must be protected from the eyes of unauthorized parties. The X-Road is a data exchange platform that fulfills all three of these requirements. The X-Road makes life simpler for both the state and the citizens. For example, when a child is born, information about the birth is sent directly from the hospital to the population register. From there, it is sent automatically to the health insurance fund so that the child will have health insurance and a family physician. This prevents the creation of excessive paperwork and saves time. The state functions in the background. The X-Road helps authorities make work processes more convenient. Many activities can be automated, which frees employees to deal with matters that require human involvement. Authorities also don't have to worry about the authenticity of data. They can be confident that data received from the tax board definitely originated from the actual tax board. Additionally, the X-Road can be used regardless of what technology an authority uses. For the state, the X Road, above all, makes it possible for authorities to efficiently exchange data among themselves. Sensitive information moves securely, and the system itself is so resilient that it cannot be easily brought down by those with malicious intentions. Since the birth of X Road in 2001, the system has operated continuously without interruption. The X Road helps the state see the big picture of how different authorities are connected to one another. In addition, the X Road makes it possible to exchange data not only within the country, but also across national borders. That is, of course, if databases and information systems are working properly. The biggest beneficiaries of the X Road are, of course, the citizens. They enjoy the benefits of a better functioning state and save all of the time they would otherwise spend submitting papers and forms. How much time? During the time it took you to watch this animation, the X Road saved around 240 working hours in Estonia. Cool.
And this ensures that the data of the citizens and businesses is securely stored in government. On other angle, not only that we carry out continuous digital security tests and we certificate our systems, it's also extremely important that all citizens can see what government knows about me and how government is using data about me. So we have not the big brother controlling society, but rather we have a small brother, which is citizens, who can have a full control over what government is doing with their data.
Now, you say that you're creating an e-government for everyone, an e-nation for everyone, but what about citizens who don't want to give their identity and have their personal data stored in the cloud? Can they still function in a society where everything is digitized?
We need to be available and accessible for everybody. However, we need also to understand that it's more efficient and convenient for people also to use digital services. Let me give you one example. When we declare our taxes online, then the tax returns, when I do it digitally, I get it back virtually in a couple of days. If I do it on paper, which I can also do, it will be stored and it will be processed only when the tax declaration period is over, and I get my returns back after the paper document is processed, because it takes more time.
And last but not least, parliamentary elections are set to take place this March, with about 50% of Estonians that are set to use the e-voting system. Some specialists are worried about security breaches. What do you say to that?
Internet voting in one country, say, for example, referendums in Switzerland, using electronic voting system in United States, or internet voting in Estonia, are very different compared to each other. It's very difficult to compare them to each other. In Estonia, the system is built around the digital identity card, individual certificates, and centrally coordinated approach, which ensures a much higher levels of security. And despite the fact that there is a theoretical possibility to intrude to one person's vote, you can't undermine the total elections.
Lynn Arvik, thank you so much for that.
Sente como o trabalho está agregando valor à sua vida? Deseja contribuir para que este continue sendo produzido e distribuído gratuitamente? Entre em contato comigo e pergunte-me como.